Okay, so the final little example we're going to do in this kind of section is one where we just have a quick look at a relationship between the kind of the square foot and market value of a house. And then we kind of have a look at the idea. We're going to use z-scores to look at the idea of outliers. So first, let's just kind of create these z-scores. And again, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show like the first five and the last five. So let's just do home, format, hide and unhide, hide rows. So at the bottom, we're going to calculate the mean for each of these values, and we're going to kind of calculate the standard deviation. So the mean, and then we can just select to the right, Control R, and we get the mean market value for the houses. And then we're just going to do this. We're just going to do the sample standard deviation. And again, we're just going to go to the right. So we have the standard deviation for each of these values. Now, what we can do is we can actually now calculate the z-values for each of these items. And we're going to use them in a minute, but I'll explain that once we've calculated them. So as with the previous z-score examples, the z-score is just this. We're converting our variables to variables that have a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. And we do that with, for every variable, we first subtract the mean, and then we divide by the standard deviation. And we need to put dollars on that, as we're going to drop it down. Okay, there's nothing. Let's just format this. That was looking a bit weird. A number. Let's just have it to 3 decimal places. Okay, that's a little bit better. And now we want the z-score for the market value. I was wondering what was happening there. So the z-score for the market value, again, each item, subtract the mean, and we're going to divide by the standard deviation. And again, as we're dropping down dollars, we drop all the way down, Control D. Okay, and let's just get these things formatted correctly. The z-scores don't need to have any units. So again, let's just format these as a number with 3 decimal places. Let's just keep the summary beneath the table. So we've got that, and here we need to have the row, and let's just keep everything at Arial and 12. Okay, so that's looking a lot better. Now, first off, let's just kind of view this data. Now here we might actually want to have a look at the z-scores because we're actually going to use them for outliers. So let's select this, where we've hidden the cells, and format, hide and unhide, and unhide rows, and that returns all of our rows. I also, before we look at the individual z-scores, I want to kind of plot a little scatter plot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all the square foot down to here. Then I'm going to press Control, and I'm going to select market value. So just with Control kind of kept selected. Now I'm going to do insert, and we're going to do a scatter plot. And, you can see here, let's click on this axis, and then we can right-click and format axis, but you actually see format axis to the right. So go to the final little bars here with axis options. So this x-axis, let's have a minimum of like 1,400 square feet. That's what the book did. And let's select this axis. And you see that the minimum here is 0. And let's set a minimum of $60,000. So we can see this relationship here. And you can actually, as set in Excel, we've not really covered regression yet, but if I click at some of the points and I kind of put add trend line, it will actually do me a little kind of almost like a linear regression line that will actually show the general trend. So the general trend is like this, but you can see we have a few outliers up here. Now, generally, when we're doing outlier analysis, we look at the, how far away we are from the trend line. So here, this is a long way away from the trend line, and this is a long way away from the trend line. But I think the analysis in the book is the fact we haven't really covered regression yet in this class. So the idea is we want to look at these individual z-scores, and we want to see if, one house is a long way out of the way in terms of square foot, or another house maybe is out of the kind of normal in terms of value. But there doesn't look to be too much. If for example, we had a house with a market value of 500,000, it would be very different from the others, and it would probably skew the relationship because it might be like, or let's just say 5 million. Maybe it's a celebrity mansion, and everywhere else is kind of a relatively poor rural area. But we can kind of use this. We can kind of look, as our z-score is a standard value, see if we have anything kind of untoward or out of the way. Okay, so let's just tell you what we'll do. This isn't in the book. We'll just say kind of flag. Let's just have an absolute z-score. So we'll have, and I'll only do it for the first z-score. So we have an absolute z-score. And here we're going to make it basically the absolute value of the z-score, which just means we're just looking at how big the z-score is, regardless of it's negative or positive. So if there's a minus, it removes a minus. Now let's look at conditional formatting. And let's use an icon set, and let's just do the shapes. And we're now going to conditional formatting again. Let's manage the rules. So this is exactly what we did when we did the conditional formatting before. We're going to edit rule. And we're going to just flag it as a red if the standard deviation is greater than 2. We don't need percent. So if it's greater than 3. And we're going to flag it as orange if the number is greater or equal to 2. And then it's going to be green otherwise. So the idea is the high standard deviations, the high z-scores, we give a red. The medium is we give an orange, and the green we give for low. Click OK. And you see here that everything's green, apart from we have these two outliers here, where we've got very large houses, both with 2,372 square feet and a slightly different market value. So these 2 points here are considered to be the outliers on the x-axis because everything else is less than about 2,100. And then let's just do something here. And I'm just going to drop down exactly what we did before. It's going to be 12. conditional formatting, icon sets, one of these. Now we go back to manage rules and we edit the rule. And they're going to be numbers, not percentages. It's going to be flagged as red if it's greater than equal to 3, orange if it's greater or equal to 2, and it's going to be green otherwise. And again, in terms of the market value, this isn't quite as extreme. We have a few, and again, it's the same houses as before. It's kind of these guys, this one and this one, where the price is more than 2 standard deviations outside of the market. So again, this is kind of useful if you want to just check for any perhaps unusual observations that are maybe 2 or 3 standard deviations away from the normal.